What is sustainable fashion?
Sustainable fashion for me has two meanings because I'm an aspiring sustainable fashion designer and as a consumer. But in general, sustainable fashion is being conscious and responsible with the choices of clothes that you buy or why do you want to buy it and how many times would you use it. But when it comes to as a consumer I would say sustainable fashion is being conscious with the choices that we have. We just don't buy things just because we want them, but we buy things because we would want to use them for a longer period of time. We buy things not because it's trendy, but because it's our style. We buy things because it's what we need as compared to it's what we want. As a designer, sustainable fashion for me is designing clothes that has more functionality as compared to being trendy. And it's for me being conscious with the choices of materials that I use, that making sure that it is organic. It's not necessarily organic, but it is fair trade or ethical. And as a designer as well, I make sure that I design clothes not just for the season, but you can use it for different seasons or different events of your life. So yeah, in general, being sustainable or like sustainable fashion is you being conscious with your choices and being responsible with the choices that you make.
Okay. What happens if the world is not conscious of sustainable fashion?
What is happening now in the fashion industry, because most people just see the clothes in the shops and it's all done, so we are not really aware of what it went through, like the resources or the supply chain. We don't necessarily know what happens behind the label because we are not asked to ask questions, or we are not obliged to know because that's what fashion wants you to do, just to consume and consume. But we didn't know that fashion is actually the second polluting industry, second to oil. So it is just right for us to do something because after all we are living in the same planet. So it is necessary for us to have a conscious decisions or conscious fashion decision because our planet has no unlimited resource for us just to make everything that we want. So it is important for us to be thinking of what we can do in order for us to preserve the planet. Because we're passersby here. We will not be staying here for long, and we need to think that there's going to be the next generation who will be living, and we want them to enjoy what we have enjoyed here while we're here, or even better. So that is why it is important for us to be conscious with the choices that we have, especially when it comes to fashion.
Could you tell us about your cause?
Okay, my cause, it's called Connected Threads Asia. It's actually a non-profit for purpose organization which I co-founded with a friend. It's basically because before we ran Fashion Revolution, it's actually based in UK and we are the country coordinator in Singapore. Basically, it is to gather everyone who's making a positive impact in the industry. But we see that we need to have an organization that is locally based so we can get it has more impact to the people that is who would want to know what's happening in the fashion industry. So we want an information that is locally based and that they can relate. So that's why we saw the need to create a local organization. That's why we call it Connected Threads Asia. So basically, the aim of Connected Threads Asia is to promote and sustain the sustainable. It's to promote and advance the sustainable fashion in Singapore. So this is, as I have mentioned, we would want people to be conscious and responsible with their choices. So that's basically what we do. So we have events that would give information or awareness of what's really happening behind the label. We conduct workshops so people would know how they can do, what they can do. So we would want to bridge the consumer and the sustainable businesses in Singapore. So for the consumer, we give information of what's happening in the fashion industry. So once they have the awareness, we build up the brands who are doing sustainable businesses. So we would want to gather them, so it's easier. It's an easy access for the consumer, and the same for the brands. It's easy access for their targeted markets, which are the consumer who would want to support and who would want to be in a sustainable living.